Have you ever wondered why some men in their 60s still enjoy strong, lasting erections, while others quietly lose their confidence without even realizing it's happening? As a doctor, I've seen countless patients sit in my office ashamed, frustrated, convinced that age has stolen their vitality. But here's the truth: age isn't the real thief. The foods you put into your body every single day can either fuel your circulation, protect your nerves, and support your testosterone, or they can slowly choke your blood flow and drain your desire. And what shocks most men is that the difference often comes down to something as simple as the nuts you snack on. Some nuts act like natural performance boosters, opening blood vessels, energizing your hormones. Others quietly sabotage you from the inside out. In this video, I'm going to reveal the 5 nuts I recommend to my patients for energy, stamina, and rock-solid performance. And I'll warn you about 2 that could be undermining your confidence right now. And trust me, you'll want to hear about the last one, because it's the nut most men eat almost every day without realizing just how much damage it's doing. When a man first sits across from me in my office and whispers, "Doctor, I just don't feel like myself anymore," I know exactly what he means. It's not only about desire. Erections aren't just driven by passion. They're built on blood flow, nerve strength, and hormones all working together like gears in an engine. And if one gear slips, the whole machine starts to stall. Nuts may look small, but inside they carry a powerhouse of nutrients designed to protect that engine. Omega-3 fatty acids keep your arteries flexible so blood can rush in when you need it most. Arginine turns into nitric oxide, the master switch that opens your vessels wide and keeps firmness locked in. Zinc fuels testosterone, the hormone of desire and confidence. And antioxidants shield your nerve endings like armor, preserving sensitivity and pleasure. I've seen patients who thought they were doomed by age, but within weeks of changing what they snacked on, they noticed stronger morning erections, better energy, even sharper mood. This isn't magic. It's biology responding to the right fuel. But here's the catch: not all nuts are created equal. Some support this system beautifully, while others quietly raise inflammation, spike the wrong fats, and strangle blood flow. That's why we have to separate the helpers from the saboteurs, because one handful a day can either light the fire or quietly put it out. And the very first nut I recommend to almost every patient might surprise you. It looks simple, but it's one of the strongest natural boosters for male vitality. When I think of the very first nut that consistently changes men's lives, it's walnuts. They may look wrinkled and ordinary, but inside they carry 2 of the most powerful tools for male vitality: omega-3 fatty acids and arginine. Together they create nitric oxide, the master key that tells your arteries to relax and flood your erectile tissue with blood. Without it, erections weaken. With it, firmness returns, like turning on a light switch. I've had men in their late 60s tell me, "Doctor, I thought my mornings were done," only to come back weeks later amazed at the difference a small handful of walnuts made. That's because beyond blood flow, walnuts deliver vitamin E and polyphenols, antioxidants that act like shields for your nerves. When nerves are nourished and protected, sensitivity stays sharp, arousal feels alive, and climax is more intense. And there's a hidden benefit most men overlook. The healthy fats in walnuts support natural testosterone balance. That means not just stronger erections, but also more energy, more confidence, and a mood that feels steady instead of drained. You don't need to eat buckets of them. Just a quarter cup a day, sprinkled on oatmeal, tossed in a salad, or even on their own, is enough to build results that compound week after week. Now, if walnuts can restore blood flow and protect nerves so effectively, what happens when you add a nut that directly calms stress hormones and unlocks testosterone even further? The answer is almonds, and trust me, you'll never look at them the same way again. If walnuts are the key that unlocks blood flow, then almonds are the steady hand that keeps your hormones balanced. I often tell my patients, stress is the silent thief of testosterone. And the truth is, most men over 60 are swimming in stress hormones without even knowing it. That's where almonds make a remarkable difference. Almonds are loaded with magnesium and vitamin E. Magnesium works like a brake pedal on cortisol, the stress hormone that robs your body of testosterone. High cortisol means low desire, weak performance and energy that crashes when you need it most. But when cortisol drops, testosterone finally gets room to rise. Vitamin E steps in as an antioxidant, polishing the inner lining of your blood vessels so they stay flexible instead of stiff. The result, smoother circulation, stronger stamina, and a body that feels ready instead of tired. I remember a patient who swapped his nightly cookies for a handful of raw almonds. Within weeks, he told me, "Doctor, I don't just feel calmer, I feel alive again." That's the power of consistent fuel. But here's the warning. Almonds only work their magic when they're raw or lightly roasted. The ones covered in sugar or salt, they undo the very benefits you're trying to get. And here's where it gets exciting. While almonds calm stress and lift testosterone, there's another nut that doesn't just protect your circulation. It flips the nitric oxide switch wide open, delivering results so powerful that clinical studies have proven their effect on erections. That nut is pistachios. And once you hear what they can do, you may never look at them as just a snack again. Pistachios are the little green game changers I never skip when talking to my patients. They might look small, almost playful, but inside they carry one of the most powerful compounds for men's performance, arginine. Your body converts arginine into nitric oxide, the master switch that opens your blood vessels wide and lets blood surge into the erectile tissue. Without enough nitric oxide, firmness fades. With plenty of it, erections return with strength and reliability. And here's the part that always makes my patients sit up straighter. Pistachios aren't just theory, they're backed by science. In one clinical study, men who ate pistachios daily for just 3 weeks showed measurable improvement in erectile function. 3 weeks. That's faster than many expect from medications. And it comes from nothing more than a natural snack. But the benefits don't stop with circulation. Pistachios actively lower LDL, the bad cholesterol that clogs arteries like sludge in a pipe. Clearer arteries mean freer blood flow, not only to your heart and brain, but also to the place you want it most. Patients often tell me that when they start adding a simple handful of pistachios in the afternoon, they don't just feel stronger in intimacy, they feel more energetic throughout the day. Now, if pistachios can transform blood flow in just a few weeks, imagine what happens when you bring in a nut so concentrated in one rare mineral that a single piece can reset testosterone, protect your prostate, and boost vitality overnight. That nut is the Brazil nut, and it might be the most underestimated secret weapon I share with my patients. Brazil nuts are in a league of their own. I tell my patients all the time, sometimes it's not about volume, it's about concentration. And Brazil nuts are nature's most concentrated source of selenium, a trace mineral. That quietly runs the show when it comes to testosterone, sperm, health, and even prostate protection. Without enough selenium, testosterone dips, energy drops, and performance begins to fade in ways many men mistake for just getting older. What makes Brazil nuts so remarkable is how little you need. 1 or 2 a day is enough to give you your entire daily requirement of selenium. I've seen men who were constantly fatigued or struggling with weak desire, and when we added Brazil nuts to their diet, their blood work showed healthier hormone levels within weeks. It's simple, effective, and almost too easy to believe. But here's the warning, and I make this clear to every patient. With Brazil nuts, more is not better. Because selenium builds up in the body, too much can actually become toxic. That's why I stress 1 or 2, not handfuls. Think of them as your natural testosterone pill, but measured with precision by nature itself. And here's the beautiful part. Eating them in the evening helps support overnight hormone balance. So men often wake up with more energy, more desire, and yes, firmer morning erections. Patients sometimes laugh when they tell me, "Doctor, I never thought 2 little nuts could make this much difference." Now, if Brazil nuts show us the power of a single mineral, the next nut takes a completely different approach. It doesn't just fuel hormones or circulation, it protects the very wiring of arousal itself. That nut is hazelnuts. And once you understand how they guard your nerves, you'll see why they complete this powerful foundation. Hazelnuts are often overlooked because most people only know them from chocolate spreads or fancy desserts. But when I recommend them to my patients in their natural form, they're always surprised by the results. Hazelnuts are loaded with folate vitamin B9, along with magnesium and healthy fats. And together, they do something powerful. They nourish the very wiring of arousal. Think of your nerves as the electrical cables that carry signals from your brain to your pelvic region. When those cables are weak, the signal gets fuzzy. But when they're strong, sensitivity stays alive and climax feels sharp instead of dull. Magnesium plays another critical role here. It acts like a calming switch inside the body, lowering cortisol, the same stress hormone that drags testosterone down. When cortisol falls, testosterone rises, and that shift alone can reignite desire and mood. Many of my patients who struggle with stress-driven fatigue notice that once they start eating hazelnuts, they feel calmer, yet more energized, like their bodies are finally aligned again. And there's a bonus: hazelnuts are deeply satisfying without being heavy. For men carrying extra belly fat, which actively suppresses testosterone, choosing hazelnuts over processed snacks helps trim weight while boosting hormone balance. It's a double win for both health and performance. I often remind my patients that every time they reach for hazelnuts instead of chips or candy, they're making an investment in their vitality. So now we've seen how walnuts, almonds, pistachios, Brazil nuts, and hazelnuts form a powerful team supporting blood flow hormones, nerves, and energy. But the story isn't complete without a warning. Because while these 5 nuts build confidence, there are 2 common ones that quietly sabotage it. And the first culprit is one almost every man snacks on without realizing the damage it's doing: peanuts. Peanuts may be the most familiar snack in America, but here's the truth. I have to tell my patients peanuts aren't even real nuts. They're legumes, and they come with risks that most men never think about. The biggest danger is aflatoxin, a toxin from mold that often contaminates peanuts. Your liver is responsible for detoxing those toxins, but when the liver is stressed, hormone balance suffers. And when hormones crash, testosterone drops and performance follows. That's not all. Peanuts are naturally high in omega-6 fatty acids. Now your body needs some omega-6, but most modern diets are already overloaded with it. When omega-6s overpower omega-3s, inflammation takes over, and inflammation is the enemy of erections. It stiffens arteries, clogs circulation, and even irritates the prostate. Many men snack on peanuts daily thinking they're harmless, when in reality, they're feeding the very process that undermines their confidence. I had one patient who swore by his nightly peanut butter sandwiches. He came to me complaining of fatigue, weak erections, and mood swings. When we switched him away from peanuts and rebalanced his diet with healthier nuts, his energy and function began to rebound. It wasn't age, it was the silent sabotage of his favorite snack. So yes, the occasional handful of peanuts won't destroy your health, but if they're your go-to day after day, you may be quietly dragging down your testosterone and circulation. And the danger doesn't stop there, because the next nut, creamy, delicious, and found in almost every mixed nut jar, comes with its own hidden traps. That nut is cashews, and the story behind them is one every man needs to hear. Cashews are tricky because they feel so safe. They're creamy, they're delicious, and they're almost always sitting there in a jar of mixed nuts. But here's what I explain to my patients. Cashews carry hidden traps that can quietly drain your strength. One of the biggest issues is phytic acid. It's a natural compound inside cashews that binds to essential minerals like zinc and magnesium, making them harder for your body to absorb. And without zinc, testosterone production suffers. Without magnesium, blood vessels lose their ability to relax. That's a 1-2 punch against erections. Then there's the sugar effect that nobody talks about. Cashews are higher in carbohydrates than most other nuts, and when you eat too many, they can spike your blood sugar. Every spike forces insulin to rise, and chronically high insulin does two dangerous things. It lowers testosterone and fuels belly fat. Both are enemies of energy, performance, and confidence. I once had a patient who loved snacking on cashews every evening while watching TV. He couldn't understand why he kept gaining belly fat and losing his drive. When we cut back the cashews and replaced them with performance-friendly nuts, his weight began to shift and his mood improved almost immediately. It wasn't about eating less. It was about eating smarter. So while cashews won't destroy you in small amounts, they should never be your go-to snack. Because over time, they chip away at the very minerals and hormone balance your body needs to stay strong. And now that you've seen the 5 nuts that build vitality and the 2 that quietly steal it away, it's time to put the pieces together. Let me show you exactly how these simple swaps can transform your performance, your energy, and your confidence after 60. So here's the truth I want you to take with you today. 5 nuts, walnuts, almonds, pistachios, Brazil nuts and hazelnuts can work like silent allies, fueling blood flow, protecting your nerves, and balancing your hormones so that energy, desire, and confidence return even after 60. And 2 nuts, peanuts, and cashews may seem harmless, but in the long run, they chip away at the very systems you need to stay strong. I tell my patients this all the time. Age is not the end of performance. What you give your body day after day becomes the difference between decline and vitality. Even small swaps like choosing the right nuts can create powerful change. And if you've been feeling frustrated, tired, or less like yourself, know this: you are not alone and you are not powerless. Your body still has the ability to recover as long as you give it the right support. Now, I'd love for you to take action. Save this video so you can come back to it whenever you need a reminder. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and share this with a friend who might be struggling but too embarrassed to ask for help. And Tell me in the comments, which of these nuts do you already eat? And which one are you going to add to your daily routine starting today? Because the journey to better health and stronger performance doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with one small choice. And I'll be here every step of the way, bringing you the latest medical insights to help you live with strength, energy, and confidence.